Welcome. Another live chat here. So good to see so many of you already here. Hello, Mel. Always good to see you. Philip from Ireland. Always good to see you as well. Anna, lovely. Urban White, Stephen from Minnesota. Robin from Chicago. Uh, I'll catch up on some of your comments. Just want to say hi to everybody. Joey's here, Allotted Chef, Leanne. So good to have you all in the house today. We're going to be talking about what to do with all these wonderful things that we are beginning to harvest. I had a remarkable harvest today. It was just kind of walking around, pointing at things. And I'm growing a new pepper this year. It's called a salsa pepper. It's supposed to be just a little bit hotter than a jalapeno. I think we harvested over 20 of those. And, you know, peppers are just starting to come in for me. So this was probably the heaviest early harvest I've ever had from peppers. So I'm going to try one later. I was going to try one before the show. And I thought, just in case it's hotter than they've claimed it might be, I think I'll wait until after. So, yeah, but oh my goodness, so wonderfully prolific. So I'm very excited about that. I see Nancy from New Mexico. Oh, welcome. Temps in the low hundreds this week again. You folks from the Southwest, um, hats off to you. I think the caveat is it's dry heat. I'm not sure. I mean, that does make a difference, but that's still 100, right? Uh, Mags is here. Wonderful. Marjorie, sneaking a listen from work. Okay. Good for you. Amanda, lovely to see you. So I thought I say you try one during the show. Nope. Maybe another show, not this one. Because they're actually all out on my deck at the moment. But I get you. That could be humorous. So I thought, let's go over some canning things. And I thought I would start with talking about what I'm going to do with all of these salsa peppers that I have. And I think I've gone over like ways to use our produce before, but I thought maybe we could get a little more specific today. So, like with these peppers, I can almost do every form of preservation with them. And I did pop a list on my phone here so that I wouldn't miss anything on purpose. And obviously, you can use them fresh, you can freeze them, you can freeze dry them. I do not have a freeze dryer. That technology really wasn't available to me when my kids were littler. I shouldn't say littler. I mean, they're grown adults at this point. But if that had been available to me when I was still raising my family, I sure might have. I might have bit the bullet and done that because that does amazing things. You can dehydrate, you can pickle, you can ferment, you can, I call it sugar preservation, but it's really sugar and acid. If you want to make things into jams or jellies, that's another way to preserve our harvest. So for me, for these peppers, I obviously am going to use some fresh. We harvested some beautiful tomatoes today, and I have a couple onions that I could pull maybe a little early, but I'll use them. So I'm going to make, as the name suggests, I'm going to make salsa with those. And depending on how much I can make, I might can some of that salsa after I've made it. Although I do like it, um, I don't like it cooked, and that's what would happen if I canned it. So I might just jar it up and freeze it because I think that might be a nicer way to eat the salsa. Uh, but I also am gonna cut some up and just freeze them. I find that peppers frozen do really well. I have fermented peppers. I have pickled peppers. So I'm saying pepper is one of those bits of produce that you can do just about any form of preservation to. I've even seen peppers done into jams, which is kind of nice if you're serving it like as an appetizer or something with crackers. It's nice to make something very savory into a jam. Well, hello, Angela from the Netherlands. Happy that you're here. The right pear plot is here. Uh, oh, Claire is here too. Hello, Claire. So that's kind of what I'm doing with that. My tomatoes, I usually roast them into a tomato, like a pasta sauce. Um, I froze. Actually, I just thawed some of my tomatoes from last year because I needed to make room in my freezer for what's coming in this year. And that made beautiful. I made beautiful pasta sauce out of frozen ones. And I even sometimes freeze the little cherry tomatoes whole, and they're lovely to pop into a quiche or a like an egg. Well, I wouldn't put them in an omelet because that's not thick enough. But they're lovely in a quiche because you just pop them in frozen and they bake up with your quiche. So I'm wondering if anyone has any specific questions about produce that they're struggling with, what to do. Hello, Garden of Whedon. Good to see you. Uh, so I'm wondering if there's any specifics. Uh, Herbs, I think, are sometimes overlooked, and I would suggest dehydrating like thyme. I dehydrate chamomile. I'm dehydrating a lot of new herbs this year. Uh, for teas. And again, a dehydrator might do a better job of that, but again, I don't have one. Um, I thought I saw, oh, the right pear plot. So you pop cherry tomatoes straight in the freezer. Absolutely. And I cook with them straight from the freezer. I don't even bother thawing those out before I use them. And they do great. And one of the pluses to freezing your tomatoes, any of those, by the way, is that the skins will come off incredibly easy if you wish the skins to come off. My roasted tomato sauce, I don't worry about the skins. I roast them and it all gets blended in. Uh, let's see. Oh, question about how everybody's tomatoes are going. Mine are just starting to come in. Because again, this has been a weird year with rain for us. We had the rainiest July, I think, in recent history. And so a lot of the tomatoes are getting cracks because it's been deluge and then dry. And you can't make that more even because it's coming out of the sky, right? So it's not. Oh, let's see. Leanne has an idea here. I tested something new for potatoes. Cut into fries, blanch them for 2 minutes, dry, coat in oil, and then freeze. Then you bake for home fries. Needs more baking time than stated in the recipe, but texture was good. It's a great idea. I think freezing potatoes or canning potatoes is a little underrated. I'm going to try some experiments with my potatoes this year, because wouldn't it be nice to have like partially cooked potatoes in a jar ready to go? So I think I'm going to try to do that. Let's see. We have a question from Robin. I have a large amount of Elsa Craig onions. Need ideas, as they say they only store for a month. And I find that they actually store a little bit longer than that. But absolutely, I would process some of those. I would even think about throwing them in your food processor and freezing them as kind of diced up onions and like in portions that you might normally use. I make last year, well, I don't even have to make it this year because I did it. I make caramelized onions, and Elsa Craig's are a little bit sweeter, so those would probably be fabulous. And all I do is I slice up the onions into like, pole to pole, so they're a little shorter, and cook them in a roasting pan because I had a lot of onions last year. Not sure I'm doing great this year. And then I just cook them for like day and a half, and they turn into these incredible caramelized onions, and that does all the work for you. So I just stir it a few times, and they're wonderful. I've also seen onion jam. I've never done that, but I can't imagine that would be. I mean, it could only be better than caramelized onions, right? But I also just, and then also just freeze your onions, because you can get a whole lot more life out of them. And I like having pre-chopped onions in my freezer, because every time, you go to cook, you don't always want to have to be chopping everything. And again, these sweet onions just don't have the same shelf life. So I'm trying Bedfordshire Champion this year, because that's supposed to be a good storage onion. I've never grown those before. So we'll see. They look kind of small, but we've had such big winds flying through here that a lot of the necks, I think, have, pushed over kind of prematurely, because this is very early for me to have my onions ready to pull. So I think that's another good way. Do I have the recipe for my roasted tomato bows? I do not. I need to do that. I was also thinking if it would be helpful that I might make up a chart and put it on my website about ways that are suggestions on what to do with certain things. Yeah. Just missed my thought there. But, kind of if I have a glut of cucumbers, what can I do with these? Well, cucumbers are a whole different story, aren't they? They don't take to a whole lot of preservation techniques. Yeah, and I think that's why. Now I know you can pressure can onions. I've also made onion broth, which is great to have in the winter. And you just quarter the onions, you throw them in, paper and all, and you cook those down for a while, and they turn into a beautiful broth. So I use that for soup a lot in the winter, and it brings a lot of flavor right from the get go. And it's a whole lot easier than making chicken broth and beef broth, because really it's onions and yeah, I don't even throw anything else in because I just kind of want it straight onion broth. And it gets a beautiful color from all of the skins. I do think I throw a little turmeric in there too, just for. So yeah, Nancy, I will get my tomato sauce recipe up on my website. I will do that this weekend. Needs to happen. I've been thinking about that for ages, and I need to just do it. Yeah, Mel's saying most of her tomatoes are still green. I'm with you. There's like so many uh, green tomatoes out there. I just hope they all make it to a nice red. I had my first uh, purple rain today. One of my favorites. It's right up there with Purple Heart, and it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Oh, and Claire is suggesting French onion soup. I did just see someone who had, well, they made their own beef broth and put just chopped onions in the bottom, topped it with beef broth, and it's like a French onion soup. I guess I'd call it a soup starter because you'd want to add a few more things to that to make it French onion soup. But yeah, lovely. My glorious treat. Claire is asking if my glorious treat is coming on. It looks a little feeble right now, but I never give up hope. It's not over till it's over. And so I'm going to wait and see. It just might be late. And I still have at least 2 months of tomato growing weather. So if not longer, because again, this has been kind of a weird year. So I'm thinking, okay, do you guys ever have a fly that like loves you? This fly found me outside, followed me in, and just likes to kind of, anyway, it just annoys me. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. Some great ideas. Claire has taken off the green onion tops and frozen them in ice cube trays. Have you ever made pesto from the onion tops? It's really good. And just the tops. You don't want the spicy bottoms. But it makes great pesto. Let's see. Okay, I see you change that. I've been trying to kill this one for 2 days. And the fly, he's like this lazy fly. He just lands and lays there. I'm like, couldn't you be a little busier than that? But anyway, so let's talk about tomato preservation, since that's the next biggie, I think, to come in. And again, I think, when they start coming in, they come in usually hot and heavy, and you don't always have time to prep them. So I'm a firm believer is to throw them in the freezer and let them. I mean, and I do a roasted tomato sauce. So all I did when I thawed these recent ones is I drained them a little bit, because you know how when the ice melts, it kind of uh, brings a lot of water to the party. So I just drained them and sliced them in half like I normally did. Add the other ingredients and threw them in the oven. And honestly, I could not tell a difference. Um, can I freeze tomatillos? Wait, let's see. Can I freeze tomatillos till they have all come in ripe to make salsa? I have never frozen a tomatillo, but I really don't see why you couldn't, particularly if you're mixing it with a lot of fresh ones. And I think it also depends what texture you like your salsa. You know, do you like it a little beefier, or is it okay if it's not? But I see so many, if you do it in a blender or in a food processor, you know, some of the tomatillos are going to break down anyway. So I would say, I would sure give it a try. That might be worth a Google, because I'm not, again, having not done it, I wouldn't want to tell you yes, um, if it didn't work. So, uh, okay, what about zucchini or courgettes? Because when they come in too, mine, I am growing just a few. Um, it's more like an Italian version of a zucchini. So it's got the ridges, and I pick them incredibly small. But you know, sometimes they get away from you. And if you don't look every day, particularly with the kind of rain we've been having, you can get some monsters. So, oh, having a chicken, uh, that's a good idea. That's great. My chickens are living my over. Yeah, that's awesome. Uh, so you've dehydrated most of your zucchini or courgettes. Um, I have never dehydrated them. I usually just freeze them if they get big enough that they're not, you know, there's a limit to the size of one that you want to eat, right? I will grate them, or you know, grate them up and freeze them in bags that are perfect for zucchini bread, because that's still, I think, one of the best uses for zucchini. Um, oh, it's interesting. Um, nope, sorry. Next one. Yes, courgettes. I tend to powder some too for various things like adding to flour. Great idea. Because I don't even think that would affect your ratios in your recipe, because it's not a flour, right? That's a great idea. I've just never been one for the flavor of courgettes, or the lack of flavor of the zucchini family. But I do find that if I pick them very small and have them fresh, they're lovely. Um, let's see. Oh, this looks interesting. Fiona, hi Fiona, has made 2 courgette and tomato quiche today. Mary Berry. I watch the British baking show. I know who that is. Uh, they tasted good with coleslaw. Nice. Now, have any of you ever canned coleslaw? Uh, that's an interesting one for me. I've always eaten fresh coleslaw, but apparently you can can it if you're not um, putting in the mayonnaise and the heavy fats. So it's a little more like a pickled coleslaw, but then when you open it, you then can add a creamier sauce to it, and it's supposed to be lovely. That's a new one for me. Okay, Claire, are you being haha cute, or do you really make wine out of courgettes? Um, okay, this fly is really on my last nerve here. Uh, yeah, I saw it was on a YouTube channel, and they're in Alaska. And I thought, well, you probably have to get very creative about how to keep fresh um, anything available to you in those winters. And I think I might try it this year because I would like to do a lot with cabbage. Oh, so let's move on to cabbage because that's one that you can do a whole lot with. I think if you're new to fermenting or you've never fermented, I think making sauerkraut is probably the easiest entrance into fermenting. And you essentially grate your cabbage or slice it as thin as you would like. And you add 2%, you weigh it, however much you're going to make into sauerkraut. You weigh it, and then you multiply that by 0.02. That's how much salt you add. And again, it can't be iodized salt. It needs to be a kosher salt or anything without iodine in it. And then you massage that right through the cabbage. Let it sit for a while. And then yes, Stephen, please come whack that fly. I'm telling you, and he's the laziest fly. You'd think I could hit it, but not so much. Anyway, so and then you put it in a jar and you make sure because you will have made a lot of liquid because of the salt and the cabbage that will pull the water out of the cabbage. And you just need to make sure your cabbage is kept under the level of the water or the liquid. I guess I would call that liquid. And leave it for a week, 2 weeks. I mean, taste it along the way. See when it hits your happy place, and then stick it in the refrigerator. I mean, it's that easy. And I think that's a great entrance into fermentation because that's exactly what it is. And you kind of get to know it. I think kimchi is also a lovely way to do it. It's a little more work than sauerkraut, but not everybody likes sauerkraut. And maybe not everybody likes kimchi either. So I guess that was the other thing. And I know this sounds very, well, of course, is just preserve in ways that you will use it. And I know that sounds goofy, but for years, I've done stuff just because, well, that's what you want to do, right? Or that's what you're kind of told to do. But I wouldn't use it. So ooh, kimchi with cucumbers. Oh, let me know how that goes. Uh, because I know you can really use almost anything. But there's nothing like making kimchi with a Napa cabbage. It's just, to me, that's the best. What is kimchi? Okay, kimchi is, I'm going to say, an Asian condiment. I think it's Korean, but I don't want to misspeak that one. It's spicy but not hot. Very flavorful. Uh, has uh, gochujang peppers, uh, cabbage, onion, peppers, like sweet peppers, and a whole lot of other. I also add some Asian pear to my kimchi, so it's kind of this sweet. It's more sweet, smoky to me, but it once you ferment it, it definitely gets that um, fermented funk to it, which I think is part of the charm of kimchi. And oh, it's lovely. And I will put that on my website as well. I have a great kimchi recipe. Uh, oh, this Stephen, get over here. uh, yeah, I've never done a cucumber kimchi, but I bet I would think that's lovely too. Um, and Claire uses applesauce instead of pear. Okay, I think she's answering something else. Okay, let's go to the next question. I have tons of celery. Did you tall and trying tango too? I do freeze celery soup. Any other ideas? I dehydrate my celery a lot. I dehydrate it, I chop it up, dehydrate it, and it's a wonderful addition. You know, as the fall and winter is coming, a whole lot more soups and savory things that cook long. So I just toss it in and it rehydrates as it cooks. And okay, Mr. Fly. This is the beauty of live. Like I couldn't ask for this if I wanted it, right? Um, so yeah, that's one of my favorite ways because that doesn't take up freezer space. I try to be very mindful of that because I don't have like a chest freezer. Um, I have, a bottom freezer in my upstairs refrigerator, and I have um, like a half. We have a side by side in the basement, and so I don't have a ton. I don't have a ton of freezer space, so I try to dehydrate or can as much as I can, so it keeps it out of my freezer. But celery is a good one. Okay, I guess Steve over at Digwell Green Fingers did a video about ways to use cucumbers. That's good to know. Thank you. Um, yeah. Do you guys like tzatziki sauce? My husband and I are like on a kick with that right now with the fresh cucumbers that we're getting in. And it's just lovely. We're kind of on a kick with it. So we use it on just about everything. Very easy and very tasty. So, any other specifics about preservation or what we're doing with? I'm realizing I have a couple recipes that I need to get on my website um, in regard to a lot of this. Now, let me ask you this: do any of you do anything to preserve asparagus? I find that one. So far all I've done with. Oh, I've loved pickled cucumber. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, aren't the? I mean, the tzatziki is so yummy. So that's what I do with a lot of my cucumbers that come in. But I don't grow huge cucumbers. I grow like the small snacker size, Persian ones that are smaller so that they don't die in the refrigerator. I like to just kind of, yeah. Okay, what else do we have here? Okay, Marjorie's asking, what are the best cucumber seeds? And I'm gonna say, um, I'm not. I'm gonna say what I like in the U.S. and I prefer one called Muncher, and what's the other one that I'm growing this year? Gosh, Muncher is the one that's, and why I like that is, and the other one is a Persian cucumber because they're you grow. They only well you pick them at about 4 to 5 inches, not the big long ones, um, and that's what I enjoy. But I see here that we have um, the Diva Socrates F1. Philip is saying cucumber and onion pickled. Reminds me of visits to my grandmother on a Sunday afternoon. Well, what a lovely memory. Now, I've never pickled a cucumber. Oh, wait. Oh, my goodness. Did I just say that out loud? Yes, I did. I just said that out loud. Never mind. Okay. Yeah. Uh, and Robin is saying she likes calypso, mostly female flowers, very productive. Oh, that's a great. Oh, well, that's great. We like that with lots of female flowers. Okay. Okay, and I'm trying to think what else is real beans. I'm going to talk about. Let's talk about um, like French beans, or we would call them more just green beans here, even though they don't have to be green. Um, those I have pickled. I don't particularly like those frozen. They feel like they get a little mushy to me, even if you've blanched them before you froze them. I just I don't prefer that. So we eat a lot of green beans. We eat a lot of them just fresh off the plant. And other things that I like to do with some of these preservations is I will cook them or bake them into things that I like or that we like, and then I will freeze that or um, can that, whatever it is. But I find that pickled, I think they're called pickled dilly beans. They're lovely. Um, I have also, what else have I done? Yeah, I don't preserve a lot of green beans. I just find the here Stevens sharing a little about the old-fashioned Betty Crocker, thin sliced cucumbers and onion, sugar, salt, pepper, vinegar, water, and vinegar is great. Okay, I sometimes put onion when I'm um, making my pickles, but I've never thought to just. Um, it's not really pickles and onion, or it's not like cucumbers and onion. It's more cucumbers with a little bit of onion. So that looks Oh, yeah. Good point. Uh, we grow enough green beans, so to speak, to get us through summer, but I grow a lot more for saving for dried beans because, again, shelf stable, don't have to do anything to them other than throw them in. And I, what kind of dry beans are you guys growing this year? I'm growing Coco de Paimpol. I'm growing Noir Cocoa, which is a black bean version of it. I think there's one other. I don't think I have enough like Greek Gigantes. I have enough Christmas Limas, which are all some of my favorites, but I had bumper crops of those last year. Um, hey, Rob, welcome. That's the other one. I am growing a yellow wax bean called Top Notch. Got them for 11 cents, ends of season. Yeah, mine aren't, that's not the variety, but they're wonderful. I haven't grown wax beans in years, and I haven't had them like since I was a kid. I don't even, but they're lovely. And actually, we had a bean salad made out of a couple of the beans that I'm growing. Uh, Turtle beans. Okay. Wait, I can't see whose name that is. Let me hop up a little bit here. Uh, oh, Amanda's doing turtle beans again for drying. Lovely. Claire is I let my runner beans go to full term. White Amerigo are my faves. They're competitive for, I'm going to say that's Greek Gigantes size wise. Love those big butter beans are so good. And they almost like have a meaty texture to them, which is why I love those Christmas limas. I think once you have those, I mean, it literally tastes like meat when and I try to limit the amount of meat I get or I consume. So to me, so are we having, oh, Wilco's. Okay, I've never been to a Wilco's, but I hear a lot about it. So I'm so sad. It sounds like there's some grieving going on for Wilco's. Oh, R.I.P. Wilco. Yes. Uh, wow. So I guess that's just like a really good. It reminded me of like an all-purpose store, kind of. Is that correct? Like we have like a Target over here. I don't know if that would be like what it might be. Uh, oh, well, thank you for being here. And and hubby's dishing up dinner. All right. We like that. So you take care. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about beans. We have talked about zucchini. I'm just trying to think of those things that are going to start coming in hot and heavy. And tomatoes, I think for sure are one because they don't always give you a lot of time to deal with them, right? You leave them on the counter because it's not good to put your tomatoes in the refrigerator. And they don't always last that long on the counter. So you have to make decisions pretty quick as those come in. Some other things give you a little more time. Uh, let's see, what I'm trying to think what is just peppers and tomatoes, I can tell are going to be coming in hot and heavy. My okra hasn't even started to do anything. I mean, it's growing, but there's nothing on it. So I don't know when we're going to see. Oh, wow, I missed a whole bunch here. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Exactly this is you make things up into what you want them to be and then freeze them prior to cooking so that you can, put them in the refrigerator in the morning and then come home and pop them in the oven. And it's wonderful. So I prefer to do a lot of my preservation that way because it also saves me time in the kitchen, period. And I mean, I love being in the kitchen, but I don't love it that much. Like I don't want to spend hours and hours every night preparing dinner. Um, uh, okay, we got a lot of chat about Wilco's. Wouldn't that be nice to be such a beloved store if people are so sad when you're gone? Oh, let's see how you're preserving your chard. Bechamel baked to freeze, as I need to whittle down what's in the fridge and have ping meals for a couple of weeks. Uh, so you bake that in a bechamel sauce. Interesting. Now, I usually use my chard to wrap things in, uh, kind of like a grape leaf, only I use the chard leaves. And I freeze those for baking later, like peppers, cut them in half. I stuff them with whatever I feel like stuffing them with, and then I freeze that so that, yes, um, I've preserved my peppers, but I've also, kind of made dinner as well, which to me is a plus plus. Hi, Rob. Okay, it's a bit like lasagna. I think Jessie from Plot 37, she's a chard lover, and I think she makes a chard lasagna. So I've never thought to try that. Interesting. Maybe I will. And mashed potato. Huh. Okay, so is there any particular topic that we're missing? Trying to think what else is coming in. So what else? What do you guys have like a glut of right now? Oh, Robin, that sounds really good. Chard and butternut lasagna. Oh, fruit. What to do with fruit? Uh, or potatoes. So we're going to have fruit. We'll talk a little bit about fruit. Tasted my first raspberry today. Not my first, I mean, the first one I've grown here at our property. And it was sweet like sugar. It was so good. And those, like fruit, I will just freeze a lot of fruit. We're not huge dessert eaters. So for most things, I will um, just like for fruit like that because we have blueberries and raspberries. I think that might be it in the fruit world. And I will freeze those. Or I make them into like a low sugar jam, which is lovely. Um, Amanda is asking, does anyone save seed? I am getting back in the habit of saving some seed. I've gotten out of it. I think I got a little lazy. But for certain things, it's incredibly easy to save seed. For other things, like I grow too many different varieties of squash or pumpkin really close together. So I would never save, I mean, I will get a squash or a pumpkin out of the seed, but I would not get the one that I had grown last year. So I wouldn't save those. Tomatoes, I think there are a couple of varieties that I'm going to try saving this year. And it's not hard. I mean, you just pretty much have to, uh, you kind of ferment it a little bit. You know, you put the seeds in water. I also wanted to try the trick where you plant a slice of tomato because I think that would be so fun to do with my grandkids. But I kind of wanted to try it and see how it worked. But I've seen great things from that. I've just never done it. Excuse me. I've never done that myself. I think that would be fun. Oh, Robin has a glut of blackberries. I make freezer popsicles, freeze straight up, puree, freeze, and jam. It's the most trouble-free fruit I grow. You know, I've had trouble uh, and this property getting my blackberries to really take hold. And I'm not sure what that's about. Uh, but that's one of our favorite fruits. And those all sound wonderful. So, what time's dessert, Robin? um, Mags had a lovely harvest of blueberries. They didn't make it to the freezer. Well, that's when you know it's a really lovely harvest, right? If it doesn't even make it, uh, yeah, I I agree. Um, I I think we have a different scale over here. We have one purveyor of seeds called M.I. Gardner, and his seeds were a buck a pack. So I guess that would be kind of like your Premier Seeds. Um, and he just last year moved it to $2, which is still over here like an incredibly inexpensive set of seeds. And I think next year, for those that I have to fill in, I might start with him, his seeds, and then go to other ones if I can't. Uh, oh, lovely. Uh, Saved mustard seed this week. Done kale. The chart I'm cooking is from Save Seeds. Oh, wonderful. Look at you, Claire, getting it done. Nice. Yeah, Yeah, I'm starting to get my head around saving seeds again. And it's not that difficult. It just takes a little more work and a little more consideration and all of those things that sometimes I feel like doing and sometimes I don't. Um, okay, Claire, you are so funny. Just crammed the whole tomato in compost in November and left it in the greenhouse. Did it do anything for you? I'm thinking it was in a very happy place if you just put it in compost. Well, hi, Lawrence. There is one variety of tomato called Opalka that I have saved seed from every year. I'm trying to save seed from lettuce this year. Oh, well, the beauty of saving seed from onions is they put up that beautiful orb like flower right before they give up their seed. And that's, I mean, it's stunning. Alpaca, I think that's a really old variety of tomato, if I'm memory serves me. Uh, yeah, hey, good for you. I'm going to do onions this year too. That's Amanda. Yeah, I know, but Premier, yes. Even if they've gone, it's kind of like the dollar stores. I mean, you guys probably have pound stores uh, in the UK, but our dollar store now, everything's $1.25 because it can only be $1 for so long, right? I don't know that they thought about the whole inflation thing. Um, no, I have never seen a carrot go to seed the first year. But it might be like anything else because of the heat fluctuations and the water fluctuations that at least we've been having. Um, I would say I could see it maybe being stressed enough to go into seed. Um, yeah, but I've never had that. Although I was noticing I have carrots pretty close to my deck, and I was noticing that one looked like it had a very thick stalk, or not stalk, but the greens coming out. But I also wasn't sure if maybe that was a couple carrots that were just really close to each other. Um, but I need to investigate that because it wouldn't shock me this year. Um, winter sown tomatoes. You just push them. You just push an old manky tomato in your winter sowing container. Wow, I love it. I mean, because they want to grow, right? So, gosh, I do wish I had winters that were a little more gentle. Um, let's see. Yeah, no, I think I'm always amazed at the beauty that the flowers of our vegetables make. I mean, it's gorgeous. Oh, good night, Marjorie. Thanks for popping in. Uh, oh, now I have black nebulas uh, in, and so far they're just starting to come up. I was planting those more for my last minute fall stuff. Angela's asking, do carrots go bad if they go to seed? They go to wood. I mean, they, unless you catch it like super, super early, it will be a very tough carrot. At least that's been my experience. Yeah, you can, they're tough as nails. Okay, this fly is still here. Oh my goodness. Yes. So any other specific questions about what we do with the harvest? Because I'm realizing we're already at the hour. Oh, Mary. Welcome, Mary. Mary's in Australia. It's got to be really, really, really early there. Thanks for popping in. Yeah, so if there's any other specific, what do I do with XYZ? I will say, lovely chat. I'm going to post some things on my website, and I'll put it in the community tab when those things are up. There were a couple recipes that were requested, and ones that honestly I've been meaning to get up and have not. And I think this afternoon might be a great time to do that. So I want to say to all of you, thank you so much for being here. I love the conversation. I feel like I've gotten to know so many of you, and love all your ideas. Love what's happening in your gardens. Yeah, so same time next week, same time, same place. And I think I'll post maybe what our, I think a topical time together is maybe better. I think it just keeps us a little more on point. And so I'll think about that, and I'll post that also in the community tab. So you know what's coming up. Okay. Again, thank you for taking time out of your day. Lovely chat. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.